Teenager's Guide to Law by Laura Keating. Many teenagers would like to know more about how Canada's law system works. However, we're usually too lazy to even look on the internet, where the information is right in front of our eyes. So I'm going to tell you all you need to know about Canadian law. Laws are certain rules that bind all people living in a society. But why do we need laws? We will always have a dysfunctional world because people don't agree, people think differently, and people cause trouble. But law helps keep people from harming others. They protect our safety and our well-being. In very early societies, the law was based on customs and beliefs. The Code of Hammurabi. Hammurabi, the famous king, ruled over Babylonia 3,800 years ago. He took 300 laws and carved them in stone, so all his cities could see them. These were the earliest records of written laws. Do we all know the saying, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth? Well, that's very much how Hammurabi saw it. For every crime comes a punishment. After Hammurabi's death, Moses received 10 commandments from God. These forbid acts such as killing, stealing, adultery, and lying. These laws were for the Hebrew people, but now hold a significant place in the teachings of Jewish and Christian faiths. The basis of the legal system we see today began in early Rome. As the Roman Empire grew, so did the number of laws and their complexity. As emperors changed, so did the laws. Yet the same basis remained, that all people are equal under the law regardless of their status in society. The Roman law influenced many European countries. Now we're on to the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. This boring phrase may be known to you as an old document that you've heard of once, or maybe never, but it actually gives us all the rights we are privileged to have in Canada. The Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms is part of our Constitution. It came into effect in 1982. It is a set of rules telling us how our country will work. It gives us freedoms as individuals, but makes sure these aren't taken too far. Examples of our rights and freedoms are freedom of expression, right to equality, the right to use Canada's official languages, and the right of an accused person. Now we're going to get a bit more tricky. Take a look at this. Seem confusing? We're going to focus in on the two sections under substantive law, public and private. Public law controls the relationship between us and the government. It gives laws that applies to all people. The types of public law are criminal, constitutional, and administrative. Criminal law is rules confirmed by Parliament that explain how crime is dealt with in Canada. The purpose of criminal law is to punish offenders and protect our society. When a crime occurs, both accused and society are represented. The accused represented by a lawyer and the society by a crown attorney, who tries to prove that the accused is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. The second type of public law is constitutional. It divides the government's power between levels, federal, provincial, and territorial. It gives us our more basic laws. Lastly, administrative law. It monitors the relationship between us citizens and government agencies. For example, LCBO manages selling alcohol and who may serve and buy it. We've now gone over the three types of public law. We're now going to move to the other section under substantive law, private law. Private law, also known as civil law, manages the legal relationships between citizens and between companies. There is no crown attorney in these cases. They use a lawyer. The plaintiff, one who lays the lawsuit, and defendant, one who's being charged, are represented by a lawyer. The plaintiff has to prove the defendant is at fault, and the defendant will try to go against this with evidence. It's up to the judge and jury to decide which story has more truth. Next, we will be talking about the types of private law. Stay tuned for part 2.
Created using Powtoon.